And I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay. All right, so hi and welcome everyone. I know most of you either in person or I've seen you on some of the other trainings I've done so far this week. I'm Maureen Connell, the Innovation Center Director at, I have to get used to saying, the Caribou Community School, the middle school. And I'm going to do my best today to do an introduction to Schoology. And I actually have about 4 years of experience with Schoology. I, in a previous job, taught using this learning management system. I taught kindergarten through fourth grade. I had some fourth grade classes, and it was more like enrichment classes, so it wasn't like kind of the way we're using it, but still I have a good amount of experience with just how it works. And you know, in my survey, I was asking who has experience with a learning management system, if you've taken grad school classes or, you know, your bachelor's degree in the last 10, 15 years or anything you may have. So it's kind of like that. But I really like it because I do think it is a little bit more kid friendly. And it is similar to like Google Classroom, but it has, in my opinion, kind of everything that I've used and I see other people using all in one place. It's got the actual class where, you know, you're putting information and your content, and it connects directly to our grading system. So instead of like in Google Classroom, you have to input your grades, or your grades, you know, for certain things might, if you're doing a quiz or something like through Google Forms, it might be graded kind of automatically, but then you still have to manually go put them in PowerSchool, where Schoology syncs directly with PowerSchool. So that's a plus. And then it also has features that make it a little like Class Dojo for anyone, you know, who has been using something like Class Dojo. It does have a place, you know, for kind of posting announcements, recording short videos of yourself. And it also even has a video conferencing tool, kind of like Zoom, right within it, which I'll show you that. But there are some, you know, there's still some things that are better about other platforms, something like Zoom for some things. But these are kind of the three main parts: the courses, groups, and resources. And I actually grabbed a screenshot the other day from a Schoology training I was in for this distance learning team that just has this little graphic organizer. I was trying to think of the right word, and kind of shows how they all work together. The courses is where the, you know, the students are actually interacting, but resources is an awesome place, which you'll understand hopefully after I go in there. Like this actual template that I'm creating with the team, we can put that kind of in the resource section so that teachers, instead of having to replicate everything or replicate certain pieces anyways, can just literally kind of pull it into their classes. And then groups is the other nice feature where you can interact with other colleagues at our school, but also there's a whole bunch of groups that are like public groups to interact with colleagues across, or I mean, educators across the country and world actually. There's, you know, ones focused on like STEM, there's ones on social studies, there's ones on special ed. So it's neat to be able to interact with people in that way. And then conferences is the video conferencing app, or the video conferencing section of Schoology. So those are the pieces I'm gonna go over today. So as I mentioned, and if for some reason anyone joined late enough that this wasn't showing up in the chat box, let me know. And please, anytime along the way today, feel free to jump in and you know, ask questions out loud or in the chat box. But this is the link to get directly to our Schoology page. And then you, as far as I understand, it just was switched to this in the last few days since I started using this a few weeks ago for our district. But you should be able to get on with your Google account if you'd like to. And then this is the course code. And I'm going to show you now how to navigate to that in Schoology. So let's see, I think this is, yeah. Oh wait, I have it bookmarked. What am I doing? Sorry. So once you're in Schoology, as I was saying, there's kind of these three main pieces: courses, groups, and resources. And this is your course dashboard that shows like any classes I'm either in, or if I'm an administrator and you know, kind of have the powers of an administrator, it has this extra little badge here. So I'm going though to click up here on courses, because in order to join a course, I need to navigate over here to my courses. I hope that makes sense. So I clicked up here and now I see those courses again. But the reason I need to get to this page is so that I can actually join a course. So once I click on that, that's where you put the access code. And again, you'll be seeing this grades 6 to 8 template as a student. But I will kind of walk through that a little bit more as an administrator too, and how you as a teacher would be filling out that template. So I went to courses, my courses, and then join a course. So for now, I'm just gonna go back here. I'm gonna kind of be toggling back and forth between this Google Slides show and some of it's just to remind myself of what all I wanted to make sure I covered, and then also within Schoology. And this is how your students, well, they can either join a course like this, but honestly, it's easier just to add students, and I can show you that in a minute as well. So within courses, these are kind of the main components. There's kind of 2 pages within the course that are ones that I think are kind of most important, that you'll use the most well. And the one I didn't include, and I'm not going to go over a whole lot today because this is the one piece I'm still learning more about, because I didn't need to use it a whole lot in the enrichment classes, are grades, like the grade book part. But the updates and material. So updates is basically almost like Facebooky, where you can do posts and announcements and, you know, create a little video hello of yourself. And then materials is, as the name suggests, where you are going to kind of house all of the content. And within materials, I'll go over these things: assignments, pages, and discussion boards. There's assessments, which you'll actually see kind of a test assessment I created as well, but I won't go too deeply into those today. So then going back, and I know I'm going through all of this kind of quickly, but I'm recording it, and this is just kind of an intro. There will be a lot more training, and even like us on the coaching team will be available to work one-on-one, small groups and such in the coming weeks. So, so I'm going to go to my grade 6 to 8 course template here. And right now we have it labeled as 6 to 8, but we're probably gonna have variations of this for pre-K through 8. The high school is already rolling with theirs because they're starting so soon. So when I click on my class, we tried to create this in a way that it hopefully helps teachers when they're creating something within Schoology have some instruction of how it works. So like this announcement I created is actually an announcement to let you know how to create an announcement. So I can post this in this updates page. I can just post whatever I want, and I can insert a link, symbols and equations and such, or I can add a file, a link, a resource, which that connects to this resources up here, which I'll go over in a minute. An audio or video recording. So I showed some of the staff who were on Monday, like if I wanted to just start recording and say, hi everyone, have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions, and then stop. And it, you know, it takes a few seconds or minute to kind of upload. And someone did ask, and I honestly don't know, and I haven't experimented enough to know if there's a limit to how much you can record, like a time limit. But I would assume it's at least a few minutes in this piece. So now I see that video recording is right there. If I just wanted to do audio, I could do that. Another option is a poll. So I could say, you know, I would ask my question up here. Is it sunny out today? And, you know, I'm just keeping it very simple. But if I wanted to add more options, and this is an anonymous poll, so kids can chime in and you honestly won't know who responded, but it like for me, I used it when I taught these other classes because they were online with, like, it was these family classes, to see if I was going to have a video meeting, a Zoom meeting type deal, who was able to attend. So that's how I use the polls typically. But then if I were posting this, I'd post like that. And then this eventually will pop up as it's still kind of processing, but it will, I'll navigate back here in a little while so you can see, show as an actual little video picture. But what I explained down here is that if you wanted to make it like kind of a pinned announcement, and you can't really do the polls and such, but just you wanted to have something kind of consistently up there, just a simple sentence or something, I can click that. So that's what I did with this one. But as you see, only my sentence populated up there, not the actual image that I created. So that's the updates page. And then the materials page, and this right here, just so you know, this is something you can edit. So you can make it, you know, for an innovation center, I might do a light bulb or something kind of maybe innovative, but so you can change that picture, or your Bitmoji or something like that. And just as I'm over here, I do want to point out this whole list of things. A lot of it's pretty self-explanatory. But as I said, today I'm mostly covering these top two. And down here is more just some apps that I have connected, or the school has connected to be used. But here in materials, this is how we've set it up. And it's nice because so all these folders, I just click on here and I have all these options of things to add, but I just added a folder for each of these. But when I click add folder, and I love rainbows, so I always vary my colors, but you can change the color of your folders. You know, down here is where you can add your description, and this insert content button is really helpful. And some of these insert content buttons, you have more options to add images or even a YouTube video. They're still working on setting up some of the pieces with the Google Drive connection, but you should be able to insert anything from Google Drive here. And of course you can change font and such. And another piece I really like is, say I'm doing a folder for a certain week, I can have a start date and an end date. So if, you know, for the first week of school, I had week 1. But I'd have actual dates that would populate as well.
Now, Maureen, after that date, will that folder still be there for the teacher as just the kids can't view them?
So it'll still be there actually the whole time. That's a good question. It'll still be there the whole time until if you want to unpublish it. So right now it's going to show as published, but if I wasn't ready to publish it, if I'm still working on the content there, I can have it as unpublished. So you'll see the difference. And actually, if you're in this class right now, like I can see it, but you won't. So like these you should be able to see, but it shows up like that if it's unpublished. And then if I wanted to go back in and publish it, I'd click over here and I can just do that. So over here, notice these gears are really important to notice because that's where you can get to all these different, like if I wanted to save an entire folder to my resources because I was going to use it in another class, or copy directly to another class, there's a lot of different options over there. So now it's published, but I'm actually going to go ahead and delete that since it was, of course, just kind of to show you all. And then what we did do though here is in this welcome folder, have some directions of kind of what to include. Obviously there'll be variations depending on age and group and such. But we did try to include some examples. And there is talk of, trying to encourage everyone to have a Bitmoji virtual classroom since we're going to be at home. So right now I have a sample in there of mine and I am offering a Bitmoji. And it's nice because it pops up right here within Schoology. Pretty much everything pops up right within Schoology, which is nice so kids aren't having to navigate between tabs. And so these Bitmoji classrooms, for anyone who hasn't been hearing about them, I was talking to my younger sister who is in like the marketing world and has a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, but is just getting into the whole school thing. And I asked her if she'd heard of them. She's like, no, what are, so I feel like I've been hearing about them a lot, but everything in here is very clickable. So like, this is supposed to be me. And like, if you click on me, it'll pop out an email to me. If you click on this, it's a breakout box. It's a going back to school or back to school digital breakout game for kids to play. If you click on this, it'll take kids to 3D printing. So this will pop out. So I should say not everything is right in Schoology, but pretty much everything in here is linked. So the thought is that would be a neat way to keep kids still having a classroom, because you can constantly change that too. And then also within here, and Lori Knight worked on these templates for any teachers who don't want to take the time or not just take the time. It's just a lot to try to learn when we're all trying to learn so much. She did create some kind of standard templates that are linked here. If someone wanted to not have to do quite as much work you'd still have to probably do some linking and if you wanted to and create the Bitmoji. She thought it would be fun to put, I can't remember his name from Seinfeld in there. But she did 2 variations on a simple classroom that then a teacher wouldn't have to create the whole thing. So these are there for anyone to use. And I'm using the arrow button, but there is like, if I wanted to get back, I can always go up here. There's always going to be kind of your, what do they call it? Your little cookie trail up there. And then course policies for setting expectations regarding grading, attendance, behavior. That's just a simple page, and I'll explain pages in a minute. And then here is, you know, some kind of a bio. And you can even add an audio or video recording. So it's just kind of giving some general ideas for that. And then, so that's, you know, just like that welcome folder, but then within here, this is really the bulk of what you'll see. And so this is, and someone might not need 8 weeks or 8 units or whatever. And so, and obviously it'll depend on the student or the teacher if they're going to be doing it on weekly or unit or topic or kind of how you want to organize it. But the idea is so it's easier for families. And again, for these, you can add dates. So, I mean, you could even put dates right in the title. But if I wanted to edit week 1 and add that date piece of when, it's taking a minute here, when it will be, like what is week 1, basically. I can do that here. Oh. And I can type in, you know, objectives for that week or topics, etc. And then within that, so all these are empty because they're just kind of placeholders. So again, if you're pulling the template into your class, that they're at least already there for you. But, oh, sorry, I actually meant to go. So you see, these are all empty, but they all have this add materials button where you can add all these various types of things. But week 1, we did put in, and we're still finalizing some of what we're going to put in this template, but samples of these 4 different types of materials. So like I said, if you click on here, you can add an assignment, an assessment. I didn't do a file, but that's pretty straightforward, or a link, a discussion, or a page. And pages I especially want to point out because a page is almost like a mini web page right within Schoology, because you can embed videos, links, images, and here's kind of showing you how to do that. But I will go to edit to show you what I mean. And it's again nice because it's like in Google Classroom, for example, it like links, but it kind of pops out. So this is even more integrated in that if this were a page about frogs, I used this the other day in another one I was doing. I don't know why frogs have been on my mind. I can, right within Schoology here, search frogs in San Diego Zoo. So this is a kid's video on San Diego. There's frogs at the San Diego Zoo. And I can preview it here if I wanted to. And if I already kind of know what I want, and then I just have to click a link or click on this little gear again, which I don't find this page that intuitive, honestly, but, and click import as embed. And then it'll show up there. And you'll see when I publish it, it actually looks like the YouTube picture. It's not gonna look like that. And if I wanted to align it center, I wanted to align it center or make it smaller, larger, you know, there's a lot of different options. I can also add a table in here if I wanted to have like a choice board, you know, kind of stretch that out and incorporate have this link to different things to like each word or picture. So I could like, so if I wanted to link this to the San Diego Zoo, I don't know if I can search that. So I'd have to go find a link for that, I guess. So I'm not gonna do a separate search right now, but the point is you can link words or you can link pictures. So if I wanted to insert an image, I can do a search from the web, or if I have one already on my desktop. I guess I can do a media too, but that's a little different. I don't know if I can. No, I guess I would have to. I have to play around with this. I was thinking I could search here too. But the point is you can insert images there. So if I had something on my, let's see if I have something on my desktop. If I wanted to, here, I've got one. This is actually a screenshot that. So it's that thing is what I had on my desktop that I just put in there, and I could resize it, you know, pretend this is a picture of a frog. But I guess my point is there's just a lot of options within this page. So then when it's published to students, it can be individually assigned, it can be aligned with objectives. You can even search objectives. And then I can save changes. I'm gonna go back and change this again, but so now you'll see, oh, where did my video go? Sorry, just kidding. I just want you to see the video, so I think I accidentally deleted that. I want you to see how a video would show up. Let's try that again. So it's nice because you can have videos, like I said, kind of right in there. And I'm gonna just go ahead and delete all that before I forget. Oh. All right. I'll go back and fix that later. It looks like the text is a little wonky now. So then if I go back to a week 1 folder, and this is where I've got an assignment sample, discussion board sample, an assessment sample. And this is one where students can submit something right through here, and it can be graded. And I will show you. So if I wanted to, so this is just like the example, but if I wanted to actually go in and edit this. Not right now. Can I use these? Sure. Yep, that's fine. Go for it. Sorry. So this is where you can integrate Google Drive, and this one thankfully does work. That other, it's like the Google Resources app, they're still working out the kinks in the tech department, but the Google Drive assignments and Kami do work in here. So this is nice. So if I wanted to have something in here, and you will notice though, it's docs, slides. It looks like there's a whole folder I could import, but I can't do like MP3s or like a whole website or Google Forms. I could link like a Google form, but I can't. So if I wanted to have, this is a Google drawing, so that's something I could attach. And then I can down here, have due date, graded or ungraded. If I clicked create new grading category, I could, write homework, for example. And then down here, I can identify if it's numeric grading or, you know, A through F scale, or create new. If I click create new, that's where I could do like a rubric. So I'm not going to go ahead and do that right now. And you can do everything like set it as a midterm or final. And right here, which is automatically check this sync to SIS, that's syncing it so that all the grades for this assignment grade will go directly into PowerSchool. So that is an important piece and a nice piece. And I'll just show you how, like, this copy of the writing process, how that would show up. Oh, it looks like I forgot to do something. Oh, I chose to create a new rubric but never completed it. And I left it on, so that's why it's like confused. So now this assignment, if I were to go back in the folder, it'll still look the same. But if I click on it, it'll look slightly different now that it's got that Google copy of the writing process attached. And I don't love this just because it is one where it kind of pops out. But at least it does jive and it creates a copy for each student. So going back to week 1. I know I'm going through this all quickly. Like I said, this is just kind of an overview of some of these nuts and bolts, but from my experience, once I kind of got the hang of it and started using it, it was quick to learn. And so this is a sample of a discussion board, and one neat feature here is, well, there's a setting you can do so that kids can't see a response until they've responded. So if you have a certain like question of the day or whatever, they can't see other kids' responses. And that's what this little picture is showing you. But the other thing, so if I wanted to edit it, that's where I would go. And I can even have it graded. But it's got, you know, a lot of these same features you've seen in other places where I can do an audio or video recording and table or insert, you know, YouTube videos and such. But what I also like, those of you who I've used Flipgrid with, or you've used Flipgrid or something like it on your own, as a student, say my post, you know, is an icebreaker type thing, like introduce yourself with 2 truths and a lie. Either type it or you can do an audio or video recording, and then kids can guess, you know, what the lie is. So the kids can do this, obviously with clear expectations, but they can audio or video record themselves to interact that way. So have like kind of like a Flipgrid thing where they're responding right in this discussion board with a video or audio, as opposed to having to type if they prefer. And then the last one, I just played around with the assessment sample last night. And this is nice because, as you see, so on your end, if you check it out, you can do that. I came up with some basically non-questions just to say this is this type of question and whatever, and so you could see them from a student perspective. But there's all these options along the side of types of questions you can use, and then there's different pieces here, and you can preview it so you can see what it looks like from the student perspective. And well, I don't have anything there right now, but there's, you know, I do honestly have to kind of experiment with this more because I haven't used assessments a whole lot. But there's even the option to copy it to a course or save to resources. So if it's one I want to reuse next year, and even if I want to reuse it and change it, I could have the basic thing, you know, the basic assessment ready, so I wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. That's where that assessments piece is really nice. So that was kind of a quick overview of some of the types of things that can go within folders. So I'm navigating back. So I'm back here with the kind of weekly folders or unit folders. And then if I were to go back to kind of the main page for the materials, oh, this is actually taking me back to updates. Oh, 2 votes. Oh, and now you see my little video. It popped up with a picture. Start recording and say, hi, everyone. Have a great day. Let me know if you have any questions. So yeah, so there's that. And then, but I meant to go back over to materials so that you can see. So we went through the welcome folder, course assignments, and course resources. And this one are pretty much empty right now. I did add the calendar, but I know they're working on a handbook for this year. But just those can be really kind of straightforward, but then it's kind of all right there for families and students, especially parents, if they need to refer to that type of stuff. And then course resources, you know, isn't necessarily something that everyone would need, but especially for a class where kids are doing a lot of research and maybe you want to have just kind of approved list of links, or like examples here, like the periodic table, math formulas, writing guides, things, so kids aren't having to go search. It can just be like a curated list of resources for the kids. All right, so that's kind of the quick and dirty of courses, and especially these 2 pages. But I'd encourage you to, and you can maybe see the grade book and such from your end. I could just click on it so you can see it from the admin end now, but you should be able to, if not already, soon be able to see from the admin end on the class that I think Lisa and Angel are setting up for you. And badges, I use this some actually with the littler kids that I used. You can, you know, assign badges to participants. So if I say, oh, no, well, you can add these and then I can assign them. So say I wanted to add positive attitude. You all have a positive attitude. And then the kid, you know, will get a little notification that they've gotten a badge. So kind of fun. And down here is where I could see members too, just as an FYI. It's helpful to know kind of who's in the class, and you can see, you know, that's where you can message people. And this is also messaging. And that would be something to indicate to your families or students if you want them to message you as they normally have via email, if that's your go-to, or through here. And this does save your whole history. I will just quickly show you. So this, I still have my old account for my previous life when I use this. So you can see actually up here, I have 89 messages. But it's nice because you can kind of see if I were to click, I just will very quickly click on one of these so not to violate FERPA, but if I were to go through, I could see, you know, the whole history of that conversation with that family, which is nice. So that brings me to, I have a lot to still cover in 10-15 minutes, but the next 2 pieces are, the courses is kind of the big one. So in groups, I just want to touch on the different types of groups and then how to join a group. So that's pretty straightforward. So here, again, up here is where I get to groups. And these are a couple I have joined. So if I click up here, it's kind of a weird spot, I think, but over there, these are all public groups. And I don't think there are any school groups for RSU 39 yet. No, yeah. But hopefully, I guess there are these kind of, but I don't think I think they would be official groups. Yeah, so that's a little different. I guess if I wanted to see if there were any for Eastern Heuristic. Oh, okay, there we go. So the high school, or the district, sorry, has created some. So there you go. I could join some of those. There's already a few members, but public groups is, like I said, a neat way to you can see how many members are in each of these. So if I wanted to join another one, I would just click on this, and now it's sent a request to whoever the person is who created that. And then if I went back to my groups, I would actually have the option to create a group. So someone created all of these groups and decided to make them public. Although since there's kind of only one for each topic, I think there's maybe some piece, I've never created a group, but I think there is maybe some piece that you have to go through with Schoology to maybe get permission to create a group, so there's not redundancies. So yeah, that's groups in a nutshell. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is resources. Well, not the last thing, sorry, I'm gonna go to conferences real quick. So this is the resources home, and this is my personal resources. So this is just the template that the high school distance learning technology coaches have put together. So I have that for my reference because we're working, to make sure we're being consistent. But there are public resources, which, I mean, there's a wealth of those. So there's, searching you can do. But then also group would be any of those public groups I'm in. I can look here for resources. And like within each of these are going to be, probably like, yeah, there's more folders within folders sometimes, so that you might have to do a lot of digging, but there might be some really great stuff. Oh, but I should mention, like within groups, it's nice because there's like discussion boards, and it's almost Facebooky where it's like someone can post and other people can respond. So I can show you that in just a sec. But then we also have school resources, which at this point I think are pretty slim. Like this is Mrs. Sleeper, Shannon Sleeper. Since she actually has already used Schoology, this is her class that she's already started creating, and she's also on the distance learning coaches team. So hers is similar format to the template. So she's still starting to build it out. So she's going to base it on the template we came up with, and RSU 39 doesn't have anything in there as of yet, but that's where you'd find it. I won't really go over apps today, but you can get to apps here or up in this little if these are apps I have, and that's kind of like extensions would be another way, but that's where I'm saying they're still working on this error. But there are there's the potential, depending, I think, on what teachers are requesting. And this, like I said, this little window up here is where you can see kind of the whole list of apps, but all different types of, if I go on to this app center, you can see the different types of pieces that can be kind of synced and jive with Schoology. I did just want to go, like I said, back to groups. So if I didn't actually go into one of these groups, if I went into the Schoology educators group, it's set up a little bit like a classroom where there's hosts and people kind of just helping each other out, which is neat because then, especially if you're the only librarian in your school, or even in your district, you can interact with other people doing the same job and get different ideas from other people all over the country or world. So, and the last piece, let me just hop back over here. So sorry, my brain just had a light bulb go off because I realized there was one thing I forgot to show. I wanted to show in resources. So it won't be in my personal ones, but eventually the plan is to put the template that I'm using right now, this kind of class skeleton that you guys are all accessing as a student, in these group resources. So in the Caribou Community School Group resources, I should say. So like if I wanted to use the template, the whole template, I could copy to a course. So, oh, sorry, I think I clicked the wrong one. Not copy to, add to course, not copy to a course. So that would pop up if I already just have a basic shell of a class. Like this one is actually the shell that Lisa and Angel created for me. So like the template I could add, and I don't even have any folders in there yet, so there's no place for me to put it. I wouldn't need to, so I'll show you what that looks like then. So if I were to click add it to my Innovation Center class, and again, I went over to the gear over here, and it says the template was added. So then I'm going to go back to my courses, go to that class that I just added it to, and fingers crossed, there it is. So in my materials, I now have Mrs. Sleeper's entire class that I could then, you know, within the template, the idea is if you add the whole template to your class, then you'll have control and you can modify everything and build out from the shell that already exists. So I just wanted to make sure I showed you that. But then if I realize, wait, that was the wrong thing, I didn't mean to add that, I can delete. So the last piece I'll show you is back in the template. Down here, this conferences. And this is what I was saying is basically like Zoom kind of within Schoology. So if I wanted to have a conference, well, first I'll show you. So up here, there's active and completed. So you'll, oh, I haven't done one in this. I was going to say, I know I did one the other day just to test it out, but it was in a different class, so it's not going to show. So if I create a new conference, I select my start time. What's today, the 6th? Let's say 2 o'clock, even though that's already in. If I wanted to add an end time, I could create. And honestly, the time is, you know, if you're putting it out to people, and there are ways to create events and such, but I'm not gonna go into all that right now. But within here, I can use my microphone, and there's what I think is actually a really nice, and it always has you do this private echo test.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
But I have the option to record. The one I'd say negative of this is the recordings only last for 7 days. They save right in Schoology, but if a kid were missing something, couldn't log on to be in part of the conference, that then you could say, well, I recorded it, you have 7 days to watch it, and then you're out of luck. But so down here, you can see I can kind of zoom in and out. I have tools over here to draw. I can draw right on my screen.
Maureen?
Yep.
Can you save a recording to like a jump drive?
That's a good question. And from what I can tell so far, so you'll see right now, I just started recording for fun to show you. The only, at least from what I can tell, I can look at settings. And I can keep doing some digging, and I'm sure in support, like in the Schoology support, I could check. You'll see when I'm done with this where it saves. And so I'm going to stop the recording. And if I wanted to resume the recording, I could do that. So I can stop and start, and then I can, share my video. There's a interactive whiteboard in there, so kids can also interact on the whiteboard.
And I'm wondering, is this quote unquote safer than Zoom? I'm just thinking of IEP meetings, if this would be more conducive to IEP meetings, or whether, because I've heard, Zoom, you can have people jump in and, I know they've worked some of the kinks of that, but since this is the school driven, I'm just curious.
That's a good question. I don't know for sure. My guess is it would be more secure than Zoom because it is like contained within this that everyone has logged on with their Google email. It's not like you're putting out a link for people to log on the same way.
So when if you could, it's Karen Hewitt.
Yeah.
If you could, that would be just good information. I'm just curious. It was a thought that came up.
And then I just did that to end it, that little button down there. Yes, I'll definitely ask that. That's a really good question because I know that. So I am done, and I'm just trying to get back to. Okay, so I go back here, and I'm going to end my conference. And then over here in the completed is where that will show up. And right now it might freak you out because it did me. I feel like the first time I used it years ago, that it says no recordings found. But I think if I remember correctly, when I come back in like 5 minutes, it'll have a little button that says play, and then it says good for 7 days. That's why I was saying I don't think you can download it to a jump drive because it's literally just a little button right here. It doesn't have like an MP4 link or anything. There's just the option to delete. So, but I just wanted to point that out since we all have used mostly Zoom and Google Meets, but this is a nice option, just kind of it's kind of a all-in-one right here. So yes, I think, like I said, there's a lot more to explore, but those are to me the kind of the nuts and bolts, the most important. Like here is where I was saying you can add events. I definitely encourage exploring all over here. We'll get this template pushed out soon in the next week or so at the most, just so anyone who is choosing to use this can start building it out. But we really want it to be consistent. That's from the admins to the tech department. So then parents go in and say, I know, where the materials page, and I know kind of how to navigate it for my younger child. And, obviously with some variation, I know how to navigate it for my older child, help them. So this is what I just went over, how to access features and recording. So on to questions. Happy to answer any, but I understand that was a lot of information too. So if you think of questions later today, tomorrow, anytime, I'm here. And all of us are learning. I probably have the most experience of those of us on the distance learning team, but like Shannon Sleeper has a good amount of experience and is doing kind of part-time on the distance learning team because it's mostly non-classroom teachers. Lori Knight and Stephanie Brissett are also on the team and have started training on this and helping on this. Barb Finlay, Erica Gove, I think is how you say her name, and Mona Martin, in addition to Lisa and Angel. So
will they let us know when this is available for us so we can start playing around with it and creating what we need to create?
Yes, definitely. So like I said, I think in the next week or so, the plan is to more fully roll it out for pre-K through 8. Because the high school, they just had to really hit the ground running. So a lot of them are already in there.
Lori?
Yes.
Is, like in Google Classroom, if you made an assignment, you could assign it to certain students if you didn't want it to go to all? Is there a way, I don't know if you touched on that or if you did, I just missed it, but is there a way to do that in Schoology, or do you do it like through creating a group of students in your class, or?
Wait, if you don't want to assign it to all?
Right.
Yes, so you can, there's an option within that assignments, and some of the, even I think with on like that pages and the assessments, you can individually assign.
Okay.
And I'm seeing, okay, and Heidi, I see your question. And Twyla, yes, I can stay on. I don't know if there's a way in conferences to see who has viewed the video. That would be another good question. So I'll look into that, and then also security for the conferences for the video. Yeah, and someone said it's similar to Blackboard, and yeah, exactly. So like, I've used that's actually what I used to use for the same organization was Blackboard, but I found this to be even more, especially littler kid friendly. Okay, and if the high school is not up and running, I could be wrong. Maybe check in with Erica and Mona, because they're kind of spearheading that. So I'm not totally sure if they fully rolled out yet or they're kind of slowly rolling out. Okay, and I do just want to screen share again so you can see, because I just checked on that recording of that video. So you can see what that looks like. So this is what I was saying. So, you know, that video recording. So now I can click play. Recordings are only available for 7 days. So I can see that little bit, but a kid, I don't think there's necessarily a way to, I guess the best way to me for checking if someone's watched it is have some kind of follow-up questionnaire or something, but oh, so if I wanted to play this, that's a good question. And from what I can tell, so I don't want to hear my voice. So, but that's just how it works. I just wanted to show that.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of like from a Title I perspective, we have to gather signatures. And where grade 1 this year couldn't, because of COVID and a few other things, they couldn't do their parent event. They were able to create a video through Dojo, and I was able to capture the parents' names who had viewed it, and we could count that towards our grant.
So that, yeah, that's a good question. So I'll check into that for sure. And that, I mean, maybe it's something that could be set up at the admin level, like the Lisa and Angel, or even there's a woman we've been working with doing some of the trainings through Schoology. That would maybe be something she could help set up if it's even possible. I just don't know.
I was just saying, maybe it's not the best format. Maybe Zoom is a better format in order to do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. So, and it sounds like Lisa Anderson, you said, yeah, and actually, I think classes are starting to be populated in Schoology. If I were to go, I'll screen share one more time just to kind of show this. If I were in, let me get back. Okay, so if I go back to courses and go back over here to my courses. So this is my personal courses that I'm either a student in or a
okay, what I did was,
sorry, I just muted her. And then course listing is where you can see a bunch of, it looks like shells, and I don't know honestly for sure, but this is so under Caribou Community School. It looks like, I think Lisa and Angel, especially for the high school maybe, are starting to create some course shells. And then like English grade 8, there are a few, there's like the Innovation Center grade 6, they created for me. There was one I created on my own for grade 8, because I'm actually going to be working with 7th and 8th grade a lot this year. So, but so if you go through here and then go down to down here to navigate through the other pages. And then if you clicked on that, you could see high school or tech center. So maybe that's, I'm guessing, where Lisa found hers. Lisa Anderson found hers for the high school. So just if you're curious if they kind of already have some kind of shell in there for you, that's where you could look. But Lisa and Angel would be the ones to check in a little bit more specifically about if there's something already created for you. Just the basic section, and then, like I said, we'll get the template pushed out really soon. Okay, yep, and looks like Emily and Jessica. Cool. So if your classes are populated, yeah, it might be there's